Greetings. This is Arvette McLean with Speak, The Universe Listens. New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
So, do you all know anybody, or maybe it's yourself, who seem like they either always mad or always sad, or have you had these experiences before where people are always mad or always sad or always stressed?
Yes.
Just dealt with that recently. Actually, it was I had a friend, and I don't know, like I needed some space because I felt like every time I talked to her, it was just like, not like angry, but like, oh, the world is over. And I'm like, well,
Is your friend gonna watch this episode?
I mean, it's trying to help her change her perspective is always like. But yeah, so it was like, this is always like the world is so down. And so the other day we had a conversation. I was like, well, we don't have to see it that way. Like, everything happens for the reason that it happens. And if you want an example of it, a little conversation that you have right here could go a long way. So just think about that whenever you're having something that's frustrating or whatever. And at the time, she might not have been ready or willing to hear that, but that's what I would say at any time. Like, just know that literally everything happens for a reason, and the reason is the reason that you created to be.
I know somebody that's just, it's always something negative. It's the world is against them on everything that they do, and I'm like, it's not that bad, man. you just gotta look at it differently, and I always try to keep them in try to keep a positive perspective on whatever this situation may be, because every time we talk, it's never on something good. It's always about, man, let me tell you what they did to me at my job today, or, let me tell you what she did. And so I always try to change the narrative of the story a little bit, so he can be like, you know what, you might got a point there. Switch it around a little bit for him, pretty much.
Yeah. But see, I think the hardest part, because I know I used to not be in a space where I was always angry, but I do remember, like, one accident never been like all of anything in the time. But I know, like, when I'm angry, the hardest part is usually like finding the positive. Like, for some, like, y'all know you've been in that space where it's like, I know I could probably find something good about this right now, but I ain't trying to do that. Like, so it's getting out of that space for me that used to be the hardest. Like, all right, like, I gotta want to, like, be happy. Or I need to want to not be upset anymore. Like, right now, this feeling of upset was like, oh, this is what I want. Like, yeah, I'm angry. Like, y'all hear about it. Like, you don't want that.
See, being in that space, I know it's very rare. I get mad or upset about something, but when I do, just let me just embrace this madness for a little bit. Give me about 15 minutes, let me be mad, and then I'm like, all right, cool. Just feel it on through, got it out of my system. Now I'm like, all right, I'm cool now.
Yeah, so me, I used to always be depressed. And it was like you just get into a pattern of it. It's like, this your set point, and it really seemed like there's no such thing as getting out of it. And then I think I moved from always being depressed to always being irritated. Every little thing would irritate me. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Does anybody have any common sense? So I know, like what you were saying, for example, about when a person is mad, sometimes it's hard to shift. Like sometimes, like you say, you don't want to shift. Like you just want to be mad. I'm not sure if I wanted to be depressed, but I can say in hindsight that was my comfort zone. Like I didn't know what else. And it's kind of almost like depressed people might be mad at me for saying this. But it's almost like your excuse. You know, like I'm so depressed, I can't do nothing. Like I can't make a difference in the world. I can't get up and, you know, do these things that I'm quote unquote supposed to do or whatever. But it's like almost like that excuse, to not do anything.
So that's interesting because I don't know, I guess digging a little deeper. So is it that you wanted, like, well, you just said you don't know if you wanted to be depressed, or was it just you don't want to do anything? Like, was it I don't want to do anything, or was it I prefer to feel this level because this is where I'm comfortable?
And so I don't know that I thought that deeply at that time about it. All I knew was I didn't feel good. Like, I didn't feel good. That was the pattern of my life. I didn't know anything. Like, I grew up depressed. So I wasn't ever not depressed. Or let's put this, I was never happy and then got depressed. I was always depressed. So I didn't know what else there was.
Gotcha. I think for me, mine was like, I grew up in lack, so all my life, you know, it was just lack. And, you know, I was lacking because at the time, you know, I didn't have a car, or I thought that I didn't have money, or, you know, I was just in this rut and everybody was, quote unquote, against me. And I think when I eventually realized that I got to a point as to where I got out of the victim mentality, because I didn't want to feel like the victim no more. I wanted to be on the other side. I just didn't know how to get there. But I started to, I guess, I don't know the right word would be, taking accountability, I guess. But when I changed my mindset on it, things started to sort of shift for me. But I was just so comfortable being like the victim, I guess, because that's all that, you know, all that I knew. But on the other side of it, it is a lot better. It is better on the other side of it.
So when you say you changed your mindset, what specifically, what mindset changed? What was your thinking that changed?
Pretty much like knowing that I have it versus looking at it in the 3D standpoint. So it's like I'm looking at it in the physical sense just because I would tell myself I don't have. And if I tell myself I don't have, then we all know you don't have it. And so what made me change was like, okay, well, I know that I needed to have faith within myself to believe in the things that I can't see. That was something that, you know, my dad always used to tell me, and it just stuck in my head. So when I thought about it, I was like, all right, well, let me just believe in the things that I can't see. And when I started to shift in that type of thinking, and every day sort of elevated myself to believe like, all right, I already got, you know, the car, even though I may not have it. I already got the financial stability going on for myself. I already got that career job. So I started talking these things and believing it. And it took a while. I'm not gonna lie, it took a while because I didn't really receive those things maybe like years down the road. But that was the thing that made me shift my thinking.
And I think that's so important what you say, because a lot of times we think something on the outside has to change and then we'll feel better.
Right.
But really, it's when we change, then everything on the outside changes. And so, like, you have to make a decision to change your mind. And I remember making a decision, and it wasn't, I don't know if I would say it was a decision, but, you know, it was like a process. And my realization was that I was already it. I was already good enough. I was already everything, right? So now in hindsight, I realized that once I started looking at things the way that God would look at it, then that was the changing point for me. So I literally started looking at myself probably the way God would look at me. And that was the start of me coming out of being depressed, because I realized I was already good enough. I was already worthy. I was already everything. And then eventually, years and years later, I started looking at everything around me through the eyes of God as well. Seeing it how God would see it, or seeing it how my higher self would see it. And so, like in my brain, like I would always be like, you know, I never thought that God was so as disappointed in us as people would say. You know, like God wouldn't want this and God wouldn't want that or whatever. And I'm like, but it's God.
Right.
So if God didn't want this and God is all knowing, then why would he put us here? And he already knew what we were going to do, and he could step in and change it if he wanted to. So in my head, it never made sense to me that God was looking at us as these evil beings who were destroying the earth and
right.
who were sinners. Like, it just never made sense to me. And so, but the thing is, like, whatever your perspective is, whatever your perception is, that's pretty much how you're going to walk in the world. And so I really believe that God loves us and loves this creation and loves the fact that we can make our own choices and create our own reality and express who we are. And I think that it's us who have put all the limits on ourselves, and like you say, being in lack, seeing ourselves as separate from God, seeing ourselves as separate from everything around us. Like that we did that. And at any time we can turn it around.
Yeah, I just want to echo all of that, because also I was thinking about the topic, and I was like, well, have I ever felt all of something, like, just all the time? And then I think back, I spoke on it briefly in an episode before, but actually also in detail, like, the feeling of being, like, sick or in ailment. It was something that I used to wear on me until I was like, no, I'm alright. And then it's like, I was alright. So it is literally just it sounds too easy, but it really is just a change in the mindset. I think that's what the hesitation is, though. It sounds too easy. It's like, what you mean, just change your mind and things change.
Right.
Yeah, I remember going through a breakup and just feeling sad. And then I came to the realization, like, hold on, am I okay? Like, I'm okay. Like, nothing, you know. And so I realized that it was just that little switch that, and me putting my focus on, yeah, I'm okay, and I do love myself, and I am a great person, and all these things, and that changed me from being sad that instant. Like, just, because sometimes we going through something and we feel like the world crashing down on us, and really, you ain't gonna remember what this was about in a couple of months, you know? So it's like coming to that realization, like, I am okay. It helps.
And that's funny because, you know, you can't compare running a marathon to, you know, living your life. Like, you really can't. And I know you do a marathon, and for people like me, in 5 hours, and it's not really comparable to your life. But in that 5 hours, you go through some stuff. Like, you go through some mental stuff. And I remember I was just broke down one time. I was coming across the Lee Bridge, so that was probably like, I'm gonna say mile 18 or so, maybe not, maybe mile 16, coming across the Lee Bridge, and I was just broke down, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not gonna finish. I'm gonna cut to the finish line. I'm not gonna finish, and you know, whatever. And then I did that. I was like, but does anything hurt? And I was like, well, nothing really hurts. And I was like, are my legs really tight? I was like, my legs really aren't. And I was just trying to, like, identify, like, well, what's wrong? Like, why am I beat down?
Right.
And I realized my mind was beat down. I was beat down mentally or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I can just shift my mind. And then, you know, I was able to finish the marathon.
Awesome. I was thinking of it just like, what was it, this weekend or the weekend before that? And I was talking to you about it. I went shopping for myself, right? And you know, I'm not a big fan of spending money, but but it was funny because, just like I said, I came from a space of lack. And so even now, I still have those moments as to where it's like, all right, Steve, look, you got it. Why don't you sit back and treat yourself? But then when I say treat myself, then I'm thinking about, well, you know, you gotta pay this bill, you gotta pay that bill, then you may not have no money, it stretch you through the week. So I eliminated that whole thought process when I'm in shopping. I'm like, you know what, you got it. So stop thinking like you don't got it, because when you think that you don't got it, you know, so live your life, you know.
So breaking the habit of being poor.
Yeah, breaking it.
And you know, like a lot of times I realize, okay, that's a poor people mindset. Like the way I'm thinking about things, the way I'm processing, I'm like, okay, that's a poor people mindset or whatever. And you know, like you say, that's what I know. You know, and so, but then being aware that, okay, that's a poor people mindset, then I shifted to, you know, a mindset of abundance. Breaking the habit of being mad, breaking the habit of being sad, breaking the habit of being poor, breaking the habit of, you know, being stressed. Like it's all the same. Like I said, a lot of times we think it's something outside of us when really it's a mindset change. And for me, the biggest mindset change is with everything, look at it through the eyes of God or through your higher self, through the universe. And you can just ask yourself, is this how God would look at it? And the thing is, if you're feeling bad about it, then the answer is no.
Right. But I feel good though that this weekend that I did do what I did for myself, because I was like, you know what, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Good, you deserve it all.
Hey, we all deserve it all.
I agree.
And then I'll say one last thing too, is the whole thing of going to sleep. So like a lot of times if I was mad or if I was sad or whatever, like the best thing I could do was go to sleep. But in hindsight now, I realize that that really is the best, one of the best things you can do, because if you're looking out to the world and the world is making you mad, and like you say, it's hard to put, like when you're already mad, it's hard to change it.
It is.
But the way that you can easily change it is to go to sleep. And when you go to sleep, you release all that resistance. And so when you wake up, then you gotta literally be like, what was I mad? What was I mad about? But you can choose to not harp on that anymore. All right, so let's wrap this on up. So yeah, so just again, I guess I can say the same thing I just finished saying, which is if you want to break the habit of being sad, mad, poor, stressed, angry, what else can you break the habit? You know, anything. You know, it's less about what's going on around you and it's all about what's going on the inside. And I actually heard somebody say this maybe today, because they were saying, you know, if you look in a mirror, if you have a full-length mirror, and you want, and I'm not saying how they said it, but if you want to see the person in the mirror raise their arm, what do you have to do?
You gotta raise your arm.
You gotta raise your arm. If you want to see that person smile, what do you have to do?
You need to smile.
You gotta smile. And so they were really talking about all relationships being a reflection of yourself. And they're like, so if you want somebody to love you, what you have to do? You gotta love yourself. And it's the same with everything. Everything, not just people, relationships. Everything you see outside of yourself is a relationship. It's a reflection of yourself. And so whatever you want to see out there, then we need to have it in here. And so looking out there being mad, we're just going to create more of that. So we need to flip it and find ways to not be mad, find ways to not feel poor, find ways to not be stressed, and etc. And it could be the smallest thing. The smallest thing can turn it around. You know, I think I had just recently said, if it's puppies, I remember hearing myself saying, if it's puppies, then think about puppies. But whatever it is, if you can just put your focus on that, change your mind on the inside, and then the outside will change as well. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
And thank y'all for joining us as well. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Until then, this is Arvette.
This is Steve.
Teron. Rodney.
And y'all.